race first. The next fundamental principle of universal African nationalism is that of self-reliance, and this is explained in the following words from the Most Honorable. Power is the only argument that satisfies man. Except the individual, the nation, the race, has power that is exclusive, that individual, nation, or race will be bound by the will of others who possess this great qualification. Hence, it is advisable for the Negro to get power of every kind. Power in education, power in science, power in industry, power in politics, power in higher government. That kind of power that will stand out so that other races and nations will see, if not feel. Them words, they should really speak for themselves. Yeah, it's necessary to emphasize, however, that many people in this day and age try to reduce, Papa Garvey and the UNIA-ACL emphasis on self-reliance to just business, black business, circulating the black pound, black people starting businesses and interacting and networking with each other. But we see here that Papa Garvey is talking about power in economics, but also power in science, power in higher government, power in politics, power in education. And so the self-reliance, as far as the UNIA-ACL was concerned, as far as universal African nationalism is concerned, goes beyond just black business. And that's not to downplay the importance of black business. It is important. However, limiting self-reliance to just black business doesn't do justice to what the universal African nationalist philosophy is espousing. Essentially, we're going beyond just business development to institution building. And the UNIA-ACL program was under the most eminent prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey and is today an institution building program. So the importance of institution building is explained by Papa Garvey in the course of African philosophy, which is housed in the book published by Baba Tony Martin, referred to as Message to the People. Organized society is always a mass of people, and as such cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Hence, the organizing of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. In our present civilization, no society would be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. It is not necessary or binding that he copies completely the systems, methods, or manners of these institutions, except insofar as they would go to help him to promote a higher life and in accomplishing the most out of this organized society. It is incumbent upon him that he also have and control his own institutions based upon his own cultural and civilized idealisms. His universities and schools may engage in the same process of education, but with an adopted curriculum necessary for the special benefit of the Negro. His clubs, academies, and unions should be modeled in the same way, with the absolute objective of attaining the end that is particularly desired by the race. It is through the institutions of a race that the civilization and culture of the race is built. The Negro should occupy himself in cultivating his own culture and ultimately achieving his own civilized ends, so that in the comparison of racial achievement, he may be able to stand out distinctly on those achievements on his own account, as others may do. So we see here a concrete analysis and also a philosophical analysis. Not only must the race have its own institutions, but the institutions of the race must be serving an objective that is particular to the race and based upon ideals that are also peculiar to the race, as he explains it here, our own culture and civilized idealisms. And this takes into consideration also where the resources come from, whose and what resources we use, in pursuit of this institution building endeavor. And so we live in a context in which, and they were at that time living in a context in which the powers that be in Western imperialism were attempting to buy off and curry favor certain organizations and groups towards achieving its own goals and its own ends. And so we see an example of this, with Baba Carter G. Woodson, all right? And we're going to look at an essay or an article written by one of the leading members of the UNIA-ACL of that time, Robert L. Poston, responding to some money, that Baba Carter G. Woodson, who is the father of Black History and Black History Month, the founder of Black History Month, was given by certain institutions, to continue the study of Black history. And Baba Robert L. Poston responds in this way. In an article written in 1922 entitled Wall Street Gives 50,000 for the Study of Negro History, Baba Robert L. Poston states, "The Daily Press announced last week that the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundations have given 50,000 to Carter G. Woodson to be used for the study of Negro history. We are not among those who think that every gift coming from white people has strings attached to it and should be considered as dangerous. But in view of the fact that gifts coming from the above named foundations are always questionable, we wish to remind those who have to do with the spending of this money of some dangers that may lurk in the way. While it is hoped that the 50,000 given to Mr. Woodson for the study of Negro history is given without any harmful conditions attached to it, yet there is always a possibility that such is not the case, and it is up to the people to see to it that these wealthy men with their money do not impose upon us a viewpoint detrimental to our best interests. Mr. Woodson, with whom we are acquainted, is a highly educated gentleman who gives us the impression of being a new Negro. But there is a danger in spending money given to you by other people. And Mr. Woodson's job is going to be to spend Rockefeller and Carnegie's money without accepting Rockefeller and Carnegie's viewpoint. We trust that Mr. Woodson will be successful in doing this. But in the event that he is not, God help us all, for nothing could have a more harmful effect on the Negro than a Negro history dictated by white capitalists. It's a very interesting article, and if you want to read it in its full, you can check out this particular book, African Fundamentalism, also edited by Baba Tony Martin, and it, as it says, is a literary and cultural anthology of Garvey's Harlem Renaissance. All right, so check it out in this book, and the concerns of Baba Robert L. Poston are laid bare in the excerpt that I've just read. We're talking about the danger of receiving money from non-African sources to do work on behalf of African people. The UNIA was very particular, about funding its projects from within the race. And it is necessary to note that Baba Carter G. Woodson himself became one of the most vociferous voices against receiving white money for the telling of Black history, and got into a lot of problems with a lot of other people for standing firm on that position. So to his credit, Baba Carter G. Woodson also came to that understanding and that realization himself, and acted upon it in terms of how he engaged his profession as a historian. Big respect, and honor, mojuba, as is said in Yoruba, to the ancestors, Robert L. Poston and Carter G. Woodson. So how did the UNIA-ACL action, the principle of self-reliance in a number and a myriad of ways? First of all, we know that the UNIA-ACL developed two shipping lines. Yeah, one was the Black Star Line, which is most famous for. The other was the Black Cross Navigation and Trading Company. All right. You also had the Negro Factories Corporation, which housed under it a number of different businesses, from restaurants to laundrettes, doll making, millinery, clothes making, and other businesses. Yeah, you had it. The UNIA-ACL had its own media, the Negro World newspaper and the Black Man magazine and newspaper. Most notably, there were paramilitary auxiliaries of the UNIA, most notably the Universal African Legion and the Universal Motor Corps. And the Universal Motor Corps is important because that is a women's military trained unit. Yeah, so the women of the UNIA-ACL are being militarily trained. The UNIA-ACL also had a nursing agency through which it trained its own nurses and midwives. Yeah, and this was the Universal Black Cross Nurses that was producing material on natural remedies for treating everyday illnesses, and also treating members and giving birth to UNIA babies and all kind of different thing. In fact, the Universal Black Cross Nurses was said to be the most active auxiliary of the UNIA, and it was made up exclusively of African women. The UNIA-ACL also had various different schools and a short-lived university for the education of its children, and also forwarding towards the next principle, an industrial African development program, and we're going to go into that shortly.